Streaming.
Blog Talk Radio.
Good morning, my friends out there in Blog Talk Radio Land. So happy to have you here with us on Off the Shelf. And you are absolutely listening to the Winning Book Radio Show this morning. It is rainy here on is this our last Saturday in June? I think it is. This year is getting by so fast. As I leave in a few minutes a quote or a thought with you to think about. Think about how fast this first half of the year has gone, and try to not talk yourself out of, or just don't, doing what you know you should do today. Not looking so much to the future, but you have your future goal. But if you don't do what you're supposed to do right now, that future goal may never be within your grasp. So do what you're supposed to do right now, even if it seems small. So that said, before I introduce our amazing guest, we have a husband and wife duo on deck this morning. I want to leave this thought with you, and the thought is, you can't cross the sea merely by standing and staring at the water, which kind of goes with what I just said. Focus on what you know you're supposed to do right now, and do that instead of worrying what the end of the year is going to look like. Just do what you're supposed to do right now, and it'll all work out. So I want to thank you, our people who came by for the first time to Off the Shelf, and those of our loyal listeners who've been with us for nearly 13 years now. And I have this question I keep asking you guys: how good of a mystery sleuth are you? Are you good at figuring out who done it? Whether you're watching a TV series or reading a book, you can figure out who done it before the writer reveals it. I always like to know, to figure it out first and see if I got it right. Another question that I want to ask you is, how much do you value relationships, not just an intimate or a romantic relationship, but a relationship between family relationships and friends? If you really value relationships and you see how they literally shape us, they mold and shape us, and we mold and shape other people with the way we treat each other, make each other feel, the perceptions that we and some issues from our childhood that we might bring up in each other. We have a lot of impact on everybody that we meet. If you value these things, I think you'll really enjoy Love Pour Over Me. Love Pour Over Me deals with a romantic soulmate relationship between Raymond and Brenda, and also there's a complicated relationship between Raymond and his father, who has untreated alcoholism. And four friends Raymond meets in college, one of which gets caught up in a murder mystery. So if those things, and it's set in the 1980s in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and in Ohio. If you appreciate those types of things, I encourage you to go get a copy of Love Pour Over Me. You can get it in print or ebook. If you don't see it on the shelf, just ask the clerk that you'd like to get a copy of Love Pour Over Me by Denise Turney, and they can order you a special copy because it's carried by the largest book distributors in the world. So please go out and get a copy and let me know how you enjoy Love Pour Over Me. And now, drum roll, let us go and meet our very special off-the-shelf guest. And our special off-the-shelf guests this morning are the husband and wife team, and they were so gracious. They actually sent me an email to learn how to pronounce the name, and I appreciate that. And I hope I say it right. Taiwo and Wale. So Taiwo and Wale, the doctors, and I hope I said the last name right, Ajaos, they are a husband and wife, doctor-nurse team, who have a joint passion for health literacy. We know healthcare is front and center right now in the U.S. Preventive health care and education for at-risk groups in the global setting. Now, Mrs. Taiwo, she is the author of the book that we're going to discuss today. She's also a registered nurse with a master's in public health in maternal and child health. And Dr. Wale Ajao, hope they correct me, is the illustrator of the book. He is also internationally trained medical doctor with a Master's of Arts in Communications and producing for film and video, which is interesting. So that's the creative side and the scientific side. And together, the doctors, Ajaos, they intend to address health literacy via its most fundamental forms using the arts of writing, entertainment, and communication to educate children and their parents. Now, to the book. Adunni Dares to Dream is the beginning of a beautiful merger of not just a celebration of educational achievement, but also of faith, hope, love, and miracles. And you can check the Ajaos out online, and you can do that even now as you listen to today's show. They're online at www.noahsartmission.org, and it's spelled just the way it sounds. Noah for Noah. Noah's with an S, artmission.org /Adunni -S-Dream. And Adunni is spelled ADUNNI, then a hyphen, S hyphen, the word dream. So again, that's noahsartmission.org /ADUNNI-S-Dream. Welcome to Off the Shelf, Taiwo and Wale.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure to have you. When I say Wale, I think of the artist, the musical artist.
It's the same
his
name.
Is Wale. When I heard that, it jumped up memories. Now, the first two questions I'm going to ask you are questions I ask to all off-the-shelf guests before we get into your books and your work in healthcare, because I like to give our listeners a little backstory on our guests rather than just jumping right in to talking about their books and their other work. So if you both, and whoever wants to go first, it doesn't matter. So before we launch into the day's shows, if you could just tell our listeners where you grew up and what life was like for you growing up.
Okay, I will start. I'm Taiwo, the missus. I was born here in the United States. I was born at Howard University Hospital as a twin. So I'm an A twin, and I have a B twin, my dear brother, K-Day. And we're the last two of four kids. And we're all raised here in the United States. But our parents were first-generation immigrants to the United States from Nigeria.
Okay, and where did you grow up? You said you grew up in Washington, in the D.C. area in the U.S.?
We were born here in the U.S., but have spent some time back home in Africa.
And your husband, were you also here, born in the U.S. in the same near where your wife was, or?
No. I grew up in Nigeria. We had we're from the same should I say village? So we had mutual family friends and family connections. So in Nigeria, parents usually get worried when their kids are not married, so they reach out to their friends and like, do you know this person, and one thing led to another. We met, and we found out that we had lots of things in common. So she came over to Nigeria for some time. We did an introduction ceremony, and then I came here. So I've been here for almost 9 years. Yeah, almost 9 years.
Oh my goodness, that must have been. Was there? I've worked with known people who came to the U.S. from other countries. Was that a big transition for you? I mean, your wife was born here.
So the option was either she came to Nigeria or I came here, and somehow I was of the impression that it would be easier for me if I came here than if she came to Nigeria. And I'm not too sure if I was right. It's been such it's been a really big adjustment period. Basically I had to start all over again.
Yeah. Now, Taiwo, what did you dream of becoming when you were a little girl? When you were a kid, what did you see yourself as after you were adult?
Well, it's going to come out more as we talk about the book, but Adunni happens to be my mother, and practiced as a pediatrician for 40-plus years. So growing up, I watched her working very hard and actually enjoying very much what she does. So as probably was 5 or 6 years old when she asked me one day what I would like to be, and at that time I had just gotten a gift of a baby doll, like a newborn baby doll. I never had a Barbie once in my childhood, but she got me this newborn baby doll with a little ID band and Pampers and all sorts. And I think I was 5 years old when I got that for Christmas. And she asked me around that time, and I said, you know what, I want to be the person that takes care of the little baby. Who's that? Well, she said, well, that's the delivery nurse. And I said, okay, I want to be that. And you know what she said to me? She said, no, you don't. No, you don't. You want to be a doctor. And if you remember back then, yes, you remember back then, the nursing profession was not what it is today. It wasn't something that people aspired to necessarily. It was more of a trade type profession back then. And so I guess I started thinking on the lines that I wanted to do something healthcare-wise. I thought it would be medicine because, of course, it sounded much more prestigious than nursing. But somehow, as God would have it, here I am, finally, a nurse, taking care of the newborn babies on the postpartum unit.
That's amazing that what you wanted to do did actually happen. How about you, Wale? What did you dream of becoming when you were a kid?
Well, growing up, I think, I'm the kind of person that just loves learning about people's work. So whenever I see a profession and I learn about it, I get attracted to it, and I'm like, okay, this might be something good to do. My dad is a doctor.
Okay.
But growing up, I felt that of all the professions, I could. This is the kid version of me thinking. I thought I could grow up and take care of my kids. So I grow up to be a doctor and treat my kids. So I become an adult and you can't treat your kids if you're a doctor. But somehow I gravitated more towards math and physics. But my mom was like, this is more about job security. You need to do medicine, and you'll be more secure. And I got to school, and I started discovering my artistic side. More. I started discovering that this talent I have is not something that everybody has, and I kind of made up my mind to pursue it. But I was not the drop out of school kind of person. Nigeria is not the drop out of school kind of place anyway. So I finished school, but I finished school as a doctor. Did my necessary internships, and then I started taking pictures. Because that was a fast way to express my creativity. But I also dreamed of making films. That was why I went for the masters in producing. Yeah, that's why I went for the masters in producing for film and video. And then, I'm also good with drawing and illustration, so I did that on the side also. But my wife started the book. It all seemed like, come on, a whole book. Who's going to write a book? But she did. The inspiration was just so powerful. Everything just flowed. As part of publicity for the mission that my Taiwo's mom was running, my company did a documentary shoot where she told a bit of her life story, and that really was a huge catalyst for the book. So my wife wrote the book, and then she got on me to illustrate it. Normally I would say, here I come. I don't have time for this. I've got other things to do, but she really she really made sure I got done. Let's just say let's just say that.
Okay.
And
okay, so
yeah.
You know what? You made a comment, and I would love to hear both of you. I always like, over the years, we've had a lot of people off the shelf who've gone on to do amazing things at the national and international level. I always tell people we've had guests on that you see on TV every day, and people with their own radio shows and very successful multi-million-dollar companies. But I have to ask you this, because this came up on a previous show. In your answer, you said something. Both of you said two things. And this is something I think that goes through maybe all cultures and all families. We want our children to be safe. We want ourselves to be safe. And I think it's the pursuit of safety that literally directs our lives, even more than there was a book that came out, a movie years ago, The Pursuit of Happiness. I think that pursuit is second to the pursuit of safety. You said in Nigeria, they say, it's time to get married. They're thinking, I don't want you to go through life by yourself. I don't want people to talk badly about you and say what's wrong with you. And I don't want you to have to pay all your bills and raise a family alone. So let's go ahead and get this marriage thing going. And then you made a comment. You said someone, your mother or somebody said, one of you said this, you need job security. And that came up on a previous show. I'm just curious, why do you think, and do you think it's beneficial when we lead our children and ourselves based off of what we think will make us the most safe, either the most safe or the most comfortable? Why do you think that's the right approach, and why don't more of us take the risk and follow what we really, really, really want to do?
Well, first of all, I want to say that our parents have seen much more than we have. They've seen like at least 2 decades worth of this stuff. They've seen people who try to follow their dreams. They get their wax wings and they fly. By the time they get close enough to the sun, it melts and they fall. So they are not just talking out of fear or out of ignorance. They actually know what they're talking about. I mean, when you look at the number of people who succeed in entertainment and art, there are not that many. They're usually, the ones we get to see are a small fraction of the pie. For every Emma Stone who's winning an Oscar, there's probably hundreds of ladies like her waiting as baristas in a coffee store in Hollywood. So one has to be strategic about it. If you're the kind of person who is a hustler, I don't mean hustler in a bad word. Yeah, you're ready to grind. You have the heart. You believe so strongly in yourself, and you can sell ice to an Eskimo. Then yes, you can just go off on your own and do whatever you need to do. But the rest of us mortals still have to have some kind of stable 9-to-5 job that brings money. In fairness to our parents, we were not able to get this off until we had stable income. Stable work, which we could use as a pad, to do these things. So yeah, it's really unfortunate if somebody's dreams are cut off, or if somebody never fulfills their potential. That's a really, really, really sad thing. But there are lots of people who also, in a sense, died trying to fulfill their goals. I guess it's a toss-up or it's really subjective to decide which death is preferable?
I'd love to hear your take on that, Taiwo, before we move on and talk about the book.
Okay.
Very interesting.
Oh, sure.
Very interesting.
So, I agree with what my husband is saying. I think what I've also found along this journey, I've been writing since I was probably 13, when I had some really challenging times in my life. And I've been dreaming of writing a book for such a long time. Actually, I gave up on the idea a long time ago. It just didn't seem like it was something God wanted for me. It just was like it's like a dead end. It was like the most impossible thing that could happen in my life was to write a book. But I found out, and it's the same Adunni, with my same mom, who guided me just as my husband's mom did, where she's been pushing me for quite a while, because I had my master's back in 2008, and I never flew in the career. I never got a real full-time gig that I loved. So she was pushing me right from when I graduated to go back to school for nursing. And I said, never, ever will I ever consider a career in nursing. And I had so many reasons why at the time. And so I was fighting it, and I kind of, it was even a time when both of us, my husband and I, were both out of a job, both at home, trying to make different businesses happening. For 2 full years, we had 2 children. So this is all happening as parents, trying to figure out where our income comes with businesses, and we're not really business people like that. And I mean, in some ways, yes, maybe, but other ways, very not so, especially myself. So I had to get to a place of obedience. Just like he said about they kind of know where they're coming from. They kind of seen things. They kind of really know some things that I don't really get. But it was my moment of surrender that God, not only did I find the courage to go back to school for nursing, but God gave me a full scholarship to one of the number 1 schools in the entire nation, Johns Hopkins School of Nursing, on a full scholarship with stipend. And remember, I had 2 children. We had 2 boys, and they were young. And imagine being able to go to school full time and still bring home an income to support our needs at the same time. So God rewarded my obedience with, kind of from that point on, continue to just allow the success in a career so that I had, I'm able to work a 9 to 5. Well, to me, it's 3/12. We do 3/12 shifts at a job that I love. So while I'm going to work, it's a job, yes, but it's a job that I love. We're making a little bit of income to take care of our needs. Guess what? Now I can think about more creative things, and all of a sudden, now God allows me to be inspired, and now God allows me to blossom and actually come forward with a book. So I don't think it's all-inclusive. I don't think it's all-inclusively focused on a job or all-inclusively become a creative person and do your dream. I think they can be done concurrently.
Okay. So let me ask you, Taiwo, what inspired you? You said Adunni is your mother's name. What inspired you to actually sit down? You've been writing since you were 13, but what caused you to sit down to actually write this particular book?
I think it was a quest, a personal quest for me. My parents are both first generation here in the United States, and so most of their families in Nigeria, including their own parents. Well, in recent years, especially last year, we first lost my grandfather, and my dad's father died the year I was born. But the 2 women left, the matriarchs of our family were both of my grandmothers, and they passed last year. And it gave me the opportunity of returning back home for the first time since really settling down here as a wife. And I went home and I just kind of experienced what it looks like for my parents to honor their mothers and give them a befitting farewell. And to me,
and that's
it was powerful. Yeah, powerful watching them, to honor them. And I thought back to myself because now they are my maker and taker for the entire family. Both my dad on his side and my mom on her side. Now they're the leaders. And I'm thinking to myself, here I am. How am I going to honor these people before they go? How are we going to honor them while they're still here? And I think that's where it all is.
Oh, okay. What age group is the book written for? About what ages is Adunni Dares written for?
When we were writing when we were working on the book, we actually thought, while I was illustrating the book, I imagined like 5-year-olds and 7-year-olds, but it turns out the book might be suitable for 9, 10, 11-year-olds. We got an 8-year-old who read the book and gave us rave reviews, and she's like, when is the next one coming out? But I'm thinking maybe she's a really smart 8-year-old. So yeah, I believe smart 7-year-olds can read the book and appreciate it. A 6-year-old can read the book, but there might be some words he's never heard before, or some concepts that are a little bit mature, because there's a story of someone like losing their life in the book. So I don't know. I think most kiddie books shy away from death.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, but it's also written in such a way that an adult can pick it up and just devour it in one sitting. So that's
okay.
Yeah.
Where and when is the story set, and why did you choose that particular setting?
Okay. So the story is actually it's actually a true story. It's actually the story of her mom. Her mom grew up in Nigeria in a city called Ondo, in Ondo State, and girls growing up back then were just expected to help with the housework, help on the farm, grow up, look pretty, and stay marriable, get married, raise kids, and that's it. There was no emphasis on educating the female child. But Adunni, growing up, was really, really interested in education. It became like almost an obsession for her. What really compounded her case was she grew up in a poor family, so they could hardly afford to send her to school. But she kept pleading and pleading, to the point where her mom is like, you know what? Even if we send you for just the first term, just go, And somehow God kept providing, one miracle after another, and she eventually became the inspiration that she is today. So it's set literally in Nigeria, in Ondo town, and pre-colonial times to independence. So that's like in the 50s, in the 40s, 50s, yeah, in the 40s and 50s. And but the settings are real, and a lot of the people are real. Every now and then there's some artistic license where we imagine what the conversations were. It's not like we had tape recorders back then, but the stories it's basically a true story. What's that genre again? What do we call it? Is it juvenile?
Creative
juvenile nonfiction.
Or creative nonfiction.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Taiwo, can you give us a brief overview, a brief synopsis for off-the-shelf listeners of Adunni Dares to Dream?
Well, what I kind of gives you shares a little bit about the foundation. You begin to read the story, and yes, she has found that she has an eagerness to learn and to grow and be educated and be literate and be able to know things that others don't. But you'll find that even in that story of death, she had experienced a lot of loss throughout her childhood of other children like herself. And that that is actually what inspires her to keep moving forward, to actually at the end of the day reach the goal that almost seems like, how on earth did you even get anywhere near that goal from where you began and started? And it turns out that dream had mostly to do with children who were dying for no good reason, just dying at birth, dying in childhood, including with who you'll find out it actually is her sister, who died of something that was extremely preventable, something that could have been treated with a mild or simple penicillin that we all use today, as a regular antibiotic for something as simple as an ear infection. So she's experienced the death of children, and it's kind of consistently she's seeing this in her own family, and she makes up in her mind she wants to do something about it. So when it comes to Adunni daring to dream, today we call it Adunni's dream because it's something that has actually become. It's actually something that has come forth out of her dreaming as a child, and actually looking now over almost five decades later, realizing that dream today. And for us, that's what we call the Noah Ark Mission.org. That when you go through the website, you'll see more because that's what she's transitioning to. She's going to be transitioning into an effort that will help to prevent death and illness for children in Africa, but we actually see this going throughout the entire world, according to God's timing and plan.
Wow, so your mother, you said she went on to become a doctor?
Yes, she became a pediatrician, oddly enough.
Wow.
She became
let me ask you this. Oh, go ahead.
Yes,
go
yes.
ahead.
She practiced for 4 decades, and she just recently retired and is transitioning into Noah's Ark medical mission.
Oh, my God. Hats off to both of your families and Miss Adunni. I have to ask you, now you said when in Nigeria and there are other cultures, even in the United States, there used to be arranged marriages. It's not so much here. But when my grandmother told me if you were 18 years old and you were a woman, and you were not so much pressure on a guy, but if you were a woman and 18 and you weren't married and didn't have at least one child, people literally looked at you like there's something really wrong with you. I mean, it's not viewed that way today. Women can go in their 20s and 30s and not be married, not have kids, and nobody thinks, oh, my God, what's wrong with her? There must be something really, really wrong with her. But my grandmother said when she grew up, people really thought there was something seriously wrong with you. So when you think about that, and then, okay, it's time for you to get married, and it's time for you to start a family, and blah, 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 and maybe even women should only do this. I didn't only go by what my grandmother told me and my aunts. My mom passed when I was real young, but it's in the United States. I'm telling you, just 40 years ago, you couldn't hardly see a woman pumping gas or driving a car. It was so when you go back those times here and in other countries, I really admire that your mom went after her dream. Can you speak to, or do you address in the story the challenges that Adunni faces, that people's beliefs that a woman shouldn't do, a girl shouldn't do, fill in the blank, you should only do this? How did she face? Do you address that in the book for young girls who are faced with that right now? Do you address it in the book where you can still make your dream come true? Look at Adunni and look at all the challenges she had to face.
Yes, and the book mentions all the challenges, including the expectations for girls. There were different expectations for girls. Then there was the poverty. She wasn't. They were really struggling to make ends meet, and I think those were the two main challenges. But I think once her parents warmed up to the idea of her going to school, the the challenge of her being a girl wasn't that great anymore because her parents were supportive of her going to school. And that bit is actually noteworthy. That's actually worthy of praise because it not having money made it even harder to chase that dream. But Adunni was really determined, and she was also very, very hardworking. So she really hustled. To But when it comes to the romance, the arranged marriage thing, that wasn't the case for her, because her. I don't know whether it was love at first sight, but her husband was, what do you say, sprung. He just
okay.
He was really, really in love with her, and
you'll find it's an undertone of a love story.
Yeah, he was really in love with her. Like he didn't want anyone. He didn't want anyone else, basically. So yeah, it doesn't get less arranged than that.
Yeah, you know what? I wanted to also point, and then I like to encourage people as well as tell them more about the story and what our guests do, their books and other works that they do, but also to encourage people. I think this Adunni story definitely is a story that needs to be told. Sometimes we come up against challenges and internal fears, and I wonder how many of us don't fulfill our destiny, don't do what we actually came here to do, because the challenges seem so daunting, and one after the other comes up, or you just give up, or maybe you were raised in a family where your parents literally told you, stop dreaming, it's a waste of time, and don't be stupid, and you can't do much. This book, I think, this kind of book is so necessary, because we think our parents, could be somebody on your job, could be government, whatever. We keep thinking it's bigger than, like, God, and that, okay, I can't do it because so-and-so told me I can't. So I really, really thank you for writing Adunni Dares to Dream. But I also wanted to ask you, now, Adunni was young when she started going after this dream. Based on your own personal experiences, you both have faced challenges, and you both, the 2 years you were trying to make ends meet before you got your scholarship, and you went on from there with your businesses and your writing and your job. But do you think that and is there a way to overcome this, we feel more driven to follow our dreams, take bigger risks when we're kids still living at home? And I'm just curious if you see it that way. Something happens to us as we get older, and we just like, nah, maybe I'll let it go.
Yes, I can actually. I have like real life. I'm a real life example of this. To be honest with you and open with you. When I was graduating from med school, I had already made up my mind that it would be impossible to pursue medicine fully and still follow my dreams, which had to do with entertainment, music, arts, film. So I basically finished school, so my parents would be happy. Hung up the stethoscope and started a career as an illustrator. And how that happened was, I was so good and so confident in my ability. I would just march up to a big company and say, hey, I'm this hotshot doctor, photographer, hire me, And yeah, when moving to the States, it was a whole new network. In Nigeria, I had the networks already, so everything was just in place. I didn't really have to do much work, but coming here, I didn't know anybody, so I basically had to start from scratch, and it was so hard that I basically kind of gave up on the dream of ever doing this. But the good news was I got to a point where I realized that, okay, wait, following your dream doesn't mean you give up on medicine. Doesn't mean you give up on a 9 to 5. There are so many meaningful things you can do on your 9 to 5 job. Like my wife, she never imagined she would ever be a nurse, but she comes home from a 12-hour night shift. Her body is tired, but her brain is alive. She's so happy with the work she does.
Mm-hmm.
It's and this is not somebody putting a ribbon on a pig or anything. She's not trying to console herself. She actually really, really loves the work she does. But it's work. It's stressful work. So it's not like she's just having fun. So the story of Adunni tells us that, okay, first of all, the most important thing to take away from there is that your dreams are possible. There's no such thing as an impossible dream. That's the first thing. But the second thing is it also shows the process. Adunni, right now, the literal Adunni is 70?
70.
She's 70 this year, and she's starting a non-profit. So the dream is still on. It's not like a dive off a cliff. It's a gradual climb. It's a gradual climb that takes a long process. Now, yes, she's just starting a non-profit, but guess what? While she was a doctor, she saw lots and lots of kids from Baltimore who couldn't afford to pay their and she made herself available. She was, in fact, she was one of the most available doctors ever. Her patients could call her at any time. If a patient called at 3 a.m. in the morning, she would pick the call. And she wasn't just, it wasn't just a work thing. She was also an inspiration to them. If they had problems, she would encourage them, advise them, and whenever her patients see her, they would really get excited. Oh, well, look, Grandma, that's my doctor, Or and also she has a wall in her clinic. She's retired now, but the pictures are still there. There's a wall with all sorts of pictures of her patients, and she points to a picture of a baby, of a young child, and she's like, this child is now a grandmother.
Oh, wow.
So her patients had kids, brought their kids, and their kids brought their kids. So she's touched so many lives, so many lives. So the dream is not just this explosion. It's not this, explosion and then that's it. No, it's a gradual thing that takes time, and the only constant here is perseverance and never giving up on the dream. That's the only constant. Yeah.
Oh, my goodness. I really appreciate what you shared, that when we do fulfill our dream, I believe if it's God sent, it blesses and touches so many people we never, ever, 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 ever thought of. What was it like for both of you creating Adunni Dares to Dream as a couple, one writing the story while the other did the illustrations? And how easy was it for you, Wale, to really see your wife's vision as she was writing it, to be able to illustrate it, so you're like, oh, okay, that's right?
Yeah, to be honest with you, I didn't see it coming. As much as I knew that she's been writing all her life, I just assumed that, okay, she's writing a book. Wow, a book is such a big deal. That means it's going to take years to get everything. The truth. The book just kind of came out. It was like, of course, it didn't just come out. It was years and years of inspiration. But the timing, when it's your time, it's your time. The book came out and it was done. She got somebody to edit the book. We got a friend who's very fluent in the original language to do some edits. She basically added scenes where they're speaking in the native language. We have an appendix at the end of the book that tells you what it means. But she did it in such a way that even if you didn't understand the language, you would understand what was going on. So all that didn't take long at all. I was really impressed with that, and there was a time where I was like hoping that, in my mind I was like, oh no, I'm not ready to start yet. You still have a long way to go, right? No, she was like, no, the book is ready. So I had to start the illustration, and I didn't take a paintbrush and just draw and paint. I kind of decided there was an illustration I had done earlier of a little girl with some sharks. It was supposed to be for a project that educates people about girl education and girl issues, basically, in places where they're not treated as well as boys. So there was this image I drew of a girl, and she was being propositioned by like 3 different sharks. The first shark wanted to marry her early. The second shark was like, come and get circumcised. That's about female circumcision. And the third shark was, get out on the farm, drop those books, get on the farm. And we decided to make that girl Adunni, basically. And the girl kind of looked like Adunni. Now, the illustration style I used for that book was like make everything look like cardboard cutouts. So it's not a straightforward drawing. Like every like her head is actually supposed to be like somebody cut out a piece of cardboard, cut out a brown piece of cardboard, cut out the eyes, paste them together. So it has that look. So that was not easy to create. That took quite a bit of time because it wasn't so straightforward. But my wife's vision for the book was very, very clear. She knew what she wanted, so that made things easy. She actually started drawing, I'm the artist, but she started drawing what she wanted it to look like. I'm like, hey, come on, I'm the artist. Get away from here. Let me do this. Let me handle this. But no, her vision was so clear that, she insisted, and, the book was, should I say, clearer for it. In retrospect, I might have used a more mature kind of illustration, not as childish as I did. But I mean, I guess it works.
Okay. Now, Taiwo, what was it like on your end working with your husband as you created Adunni Dares to Dream? And then I wanted to also ask you, what do you hope that readers will gain from reading Adunni Dares to Dream?
Okay. Well, it was really an eye opener because when you say I'm going to write a book, you think that writing the book is the biggest deal of it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm sure you've had so many projects yourself, and you find that writing the book is actually the tiniest part of the whole process.
Yeah.
You finally get all your ideas down, and you think it's well organized, and then you hand it to an editor, and then the editor tears it apart. It tears it apart 10 million times, and it turns out that the part that you did is like 5%, and then everybody else's part is like the biggest part. So his, of course, was like 150% of the whole thing, because we both knew if we're going for kids, then the illustration needs to be on point. So I found out it was a rude awakening that, first of all, my part was very small, and second of all, I didn't have any more control after that part. I could try to force things to happen, but just like my writing was based on inspiration, his illustration was also based on inspiration. So many times he would stop me and say, hey, okay, I know you want me to do this, but we have to take a couple steps back. I need to have the proper inspiration for this. And he will burn the midnight oil on just one page of illustration. I mean, and I'll be snoring on to sleep. but he'll be still working on it. And of course, the next day I'm asking, so where is it? And I always forget the intense amount of work that he put into each part of it. So it opened my eyes, and I think in a relationship, and I learned this once at a friend's wedding some years ago, that the need factor has to be in place when it comes to marriage and relationship. There has to be a reason why I need him, and there has to be a reason why he needs me. especially with this project, it taught me that. Whereas doesn't matter how much I try to force it to happen, I can't go off and make it happen by myself. I have to stop, slow down, maybe get on my knees and pray, but I need him to do it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It was just like it was a very humbling experience for me because I didn't have control anymore. And that's how it is in lots of different areas of life and marriage. You know, He's a whole different person. I'm a whole different person. That's what brings the beauty together for this book, because both of our creative essence is mixed. I call it a beautiful duet.
Okay. Oh, I like that. Now, what do you hope readers will gain from reading Adunni Dares to Dream?
I'm hoping that it will give readers an opportunity to remember their dreams, to remember that they did have a dream, and that even when it seems impossible, God can still make it happen. And guess what? It's not just out of the blue, through the clouds. There's some work. There's a lot of hard work that happens behind it. But at the end of the day, God still makes it happen. He's still the one that is able. And just like we talked about that little love story that's kind of intertwined in the story, there's one other piece that I'm hoping, because I think a lot of people gravitate towards love stories. So that piece is very powerful to me. That's the story of my mom and dad, of course. But you find that Adunni decided to forego a romantic relationship in pursuit of this dream. And I've done a lot of work with teen moms, pregnant and parenting teen moms. I've done a lot of work with teen moms. Maybe one semester I would have just a couple of girls, and by the end of the summer I had three times the number of girls that I started with. And I'm like, Lord, what is going on here? It's nothing more than the fact that our kids are not dreaming. Our kids are not dreaming. Our kids are not having a goal in their mind. Instead, you ask her, what are you doing? He asks her, what you doing? Oh, nothing. What you doing? What you want to do? Oh, well, just come on over, huh? Right? So that's usually what's happening with these girls. Rather than, oh, what you doing? Yeah, I'm going to the gym to go and practice because I'm trying to win this volleyball competition in the fall or whatever, how it goes. So a lot of our young people are not dreaming, and they feel like they're just existing, just laying around doing nothing. We need to be dreaming.
Oh my goodness!
And we're hoping to use this as a launch of a very simple summer reading project for some of the kids for this summer. So we haven't really developed it fully, but it will be on the website soon. A summer reading challenge.
Oh my God! You guys have vision.
Amen.
Yeah, you have vision. Your mom had vision. I can see you. You both have vision. I definitely wanted to ask you this, Wale. Now, you have a Master's of Arts in Communications and producing for film and video. Do you plan to actually do the illustrations for Adunni Dares to Dream? Do you plan, or are you already in the process of creating films or movies?
Well, right now it's shorts. Right now I'm doing shorts and like maybe the occasional music video. Nothing feature length yet, right? But even though we wrote the book, Adunni is still inspiring us. Like right now we're thinking, okay, Adunni is a character now. She might become recognizable, which is one of the other inspirations apart from inspiring people to dream. It's a positive representation of a minority character. People from where she's from or people who look like her can say, oh, look, this is a positive representation of one of us, in a nicely polished whatever. So the idea is Adunni as a character, we can make her into a cartoon where she's teaching.
Okay.
Yes. So there's the adult, maybe the maybe she, like a young Adunni really teaching primary health care, primary preventive health care topics. So the idea is these healthcare topics should be so simple that a 7-year-old can understand. And a lot of I think as a doctor, I believe the biggest challenge in areas with tropical diseases they're actually called preventable diseases. The biggest challenge there is illiteracy. Illiteracy. So if I hope that we get to a point where
when you say illiteracy, do you mean not understanding what to do to take care of your health? Or just
no, not really. Not being able to read means you can't understand some finer concepts. Like not being able to read means it's harder to explain the concepts of germs to you because you can't see germs. You need someone to, and it's possible they don't even have the word for bacteria or viruses in the language. You need to be able to explain the concept that look, there's this tiny thing you can't see. It's not a demon. It's not a foul air. It's actually a tiny organism that is real. It's just as real as a truck or a speeding train. It's as dangerous. That tiny. So there's so many preventive. For instance, you have some people who some men who want a male child, right? So they're married to this woman. She's given him 3 or 4 female children, and he's like, your next child, I better be a male child, or I'm kicking you out and getting somebody else in. So this is a very, very real. It's funny and it's sad at the same time, because it's real in the sense that a lot of people, even the women, think this way. Now, if they knew that, there's no way for a woman to give you a male child. The woman has 2 female chromosomes. She can't give you a male child. You are the one to give her a male child. You are the one with the male chromosome. So that's a basic concept that if you don't know how to read, it's hard to explain it.
Yes.
So
use a cartoon. For
yeah.
example, if he's a cartoon character who is explaining it at a level of a child, then some of these things can be more easily grasped.
Yeah.
And we're hoping to take this to another level, to that type of level, where we're also teaching in some of the rural communities where people are just not getting some of those concepts.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I have to tell you, Wale just taught me something because I didn't know. He just taught me something. I'm telling you, he just taught me something. So I'm all for that Adunni cartoon. I would watch that cartoon. I'd probably come away learning something, not just kids, but adults.
Yeah.
Because he just taught me something when he taught.
Yeah.
Right. So
what Adunni is teaching us. So what the book is teaching us is that when you have the dream, it doesn't have to take 5 years to. I'm a perfectionist, So like after illustrating the book, I kind of outgrew the quality of the work I had done. I'm that kind of person. I'm like, it just has to be perfect. So I sit on the idea forever. What the book has taught is that if you have the idea and you chase it, with a little bit of diligence, it will come. It will happen. And if it's not perfect, it's not the end of the world. If you toil hard on a book and it comes out and it's not perfect, that's still better than never trying. So to make an animated movie or a feature film, it's just going to take a lot of effort. But seeing that you've done Adunni's dream, it's possible.
Yes, I gotta go get Adunni Dares the dream. Oh my goodness! And if you do the cartoon, please reach out and I'll let our listeners know. I love that idea, that concept. Did you guys have any last words you wanted to leave with our listeners here at Off the Shelf before we close? We've come to the end of the hour.
Well, Denise Turney, we want to say thank you to you. Thank you for engaging us and getting us to talk. It was really fun. We really appreciate it. It really made a difference.
I enjoyed both of you, Taiwo and Wale. And please, your mother doesn't even know me, but I truly appreciate and honor her, both sets of your parents, for, of course, how they raised you, and then that you all had. They gave you guys enough courage to go after your dreams and enter the medical field, a very beneficial field in this world. And then your mom, Adunni, what a story. So, and then you wrote this book, and I hope it does become a cartoon. To our off-the-shelf listeners who may have come in midstream during the show, we know we get a lot of listeners in our archives. You can go back once it finishes streaming and listen to this entire interview in its fullness. This is one of my favorite interviews. So after doing this for almost 13 years, I do encourage all of you to go out and get a copy of Adunni Dares to Dream and go and you can visit. This is Adunni's. This were the book information and the nonprofit that Adunni's working on, and it's noahsartmission.org, and it's spelled just the way it sounds. Noah again, Noah with an S. noahsartmission.org with a / Adunni, and Adunni spelled ADUNNI-S-dream. So you can check out their website. Please go get a copy of Adunni Dares to Dream and be in prayer that this cartoon, wouldn't it be cool to turn on PBS or something? And that would be so cool, and see Adunni Dares to Dream on there. Oh my God, I think I would just scream. So we really want to thank Wale and I want to make sure I say her name right, Taiwo, for being here with us this morning. Again, please go out and get a copy of the book. Visit their website and bookmark it so you can keep up with what they're doing. To our off-the-shelf listeners, please come back next Saturday, 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time or New York City time. On Saturday mornings, just write it down on your calendar. We will bring you another phenomenal guest. Our guests this morning were really, really a true treat. What a treat, what a treat. So, again, if you missed part of the show, you can wait till it streams and listen to it in its entirety and share it so everybody else can enjoy today's show. And remember, you are awesome. You are amazing. You're incredible. Go out and create a fabulous day for yourself and dare to dream. Go out and follow your dreams just like Adunni did. Thank you, Wale and Taiwo. I'll shoot you an email when the show finishes streaming. Bye for now.
Thank you so much.
Bye.